In this exciting episode, we're going to do something we haven't had to do all year long here in Phoenix. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. In today's exciting episode, I'm going to have to do something that I haven't done here in Phoenix in all of 2018. And it's almost over. I'm going to have to wear a sweatshirt while I shoot this episode. Poor me, right? The real reason for today's episode is the temperatures here in Phoenix are getting down to the low 30s. It was 33 last night, expected to be down to about 31 tonight. And I looked at the 5-day weather forecast and it looks like low 30s for the next 4 or 5 nights or early mornings. So we're gonna cover up our plants with some row covers, so stay tuned. The plants I'm going to cover are fairly frost tolerant. I'm going to cover some broccoli and cauliflower and some lettuce. But I was a little concerned that since the temperature is expected to get down to 31 tonight and that it's going to be down in the low 30s for the next 4 or 5 nights in the forecast, that continued pressure, that cold pressure on the plants will just weaken them and make them more susceptible to a frost. So I'm going to come out here and we're going to get these covered. You can use a lot of things to cover up your plants. You can use sheets and quilts and blankets and things of that nature. You can also use plastic. But if you use plastic, you need to be careful with a couple things. One is plastic actually doesn't keep your plants as warm as a quilt or a blanket would, or even sheets. And I found that a little counterintuitive when I did a little research on it. The other thing about plastic is that make sure if you're using plastic that it isn't touching the plant. If it's touching the plant, the outside air will conduct the cold right into the plant. And if there's a freeze or a frost, wherever your plant is touching is likely to get damaged. The last thing about using plastic is you need to get up and you need to pull the plastic off so you don't solarize or heat up your plants so much that you harm them. You know, here in Phoenix, if it gets down to 31 tonight, it may be in the 60s and sunny all day tomorrow. And if that's the case, you could really damage your plants by having too much heat on them. Maybe not likely in the low 60s, but there's a chance of that. You can use plastic and blankets together. So let's say there's a chance of some type of precipitation tonight. It might be a good idea to put your sheets on first, cover them up, again, not touching the plants, and then put the plastic over. So those are a couple items you can use. So what am I going to use in my garden? What do I think's best? I'm going to use something called Reemay, R-E-E-M-A-Y. And this is a roll of Reemay that I got from a place called Farmer's Friend. Farmer's Friend, I'll give a quick shout out to, is a great urban farming and gardening company. And I believe they're based in Tennessee, but I've done business with them a couple different times. I've been happy each time. But more than that, when I call them up for advice or an application on using their products, they've always been spot on and they have a 100% satisfaction level as far as I'm concerned. I've purchased a Caterpillar tunnel from them. I've purchased my silage tarps from them. I've purchased a quick cut greens harvester from them. I had some questions on the silage tarp when I moved from Chicago to Phoenix. Could I flip it and put the white side up? And they said, boy, that's not an application that we really run into a lot, but it's UV protected on both sides, so yes, you can. So that's what we did when we covered the garden here in Phoenix with the white side up last summer. So I'm going to use something that I got from Farmer's Friend called Reemay, R-E-E-M-A-Y. And I don't think they call it Reemay on their site. I think they call it Frost Protection Cover. And this is the medium strength. And it'll work good here because it doesn't get quite that cold in Phoenix. So this is a 10 by 100 roll that I got from Farmer's Friend. And it's folded over, so it's a 5-foot roll folded over and it's 100 foot long. I like Reemay because it provides more frost protection than maybe a sheet, but less than a quilt or blanket. I also like it because it's very rugged. Other side up here. I can't rip this. I guess I could if I tried, but when it's doubled over, I certainly can't rip it. And so the fact that it's, you know, kind of medium frost protection, it's easy to work with, it's easy to throw over the plants, is the reason why I like it so much. It's also reusable. So this should last me several years. If I take care of it, maybe longer. So you don't want the plants to touch the fabric you're using or the plastic. So I'm using these, I won't call them hoops because they're square, but the wire squares or wire hoops. These I got from Dubois Agrinovation, I believe. It's been a while. I might have gotten them from Johnny's, but I think I got these from Dubois Agrinovation. And these will work to hold the row covers or the Reemay over the plants so they don't touch. They also have these little hoops on the end, which are really cool if you're doing overwintering. I'm just doing frost protection, which will be removed every morning and put on at the evening. But these little hoops kind of cool because you can run a rope through them like a ridge line and add more stability to your setup. The last thing I'll be using are row bags. And I know I got these from Dubois Agrinovation. I'll put a link down below. These are a time saver. If you have a fairly large garden and are sick of using bricks and pieces of wood and, you know, garbage cans or whatever you got laying around to hold down your tarps, these are sun protected, sun protection fabric, so they last longer. And you fill it up with, they're kind of like sandbags, but you fill them up with river rock, and they got these little handles on the other end. And they're really cool because they're easy to pick up and throw where you need them. They're easy to stack up when you're not using them. When they lay down in the fabric, they kind of flatten out, and they don't cut into the fabric like a brick or a piece of wood might. So I use the Reemay, the wire contraptions, and the row bags, and that's it. So the sun's setting on a beautiful day here in Phoenix. But this applies to no matter where you're at. The perfect time to put your frost protection on your plants is right around sunset. So it's been very sunny here in Phoenix all day long. It hit about 57 today. A little cold for Phoenix. I had to wear a sweatshirt. And the sun's been beating down on the soil, heating it up all day long. In addition, since the frost covers have been off all day, the plants have been photosynthesizing from the sun, and they're nice and healthy. So it's a perfect time to put on the frost protection. What you don't want to do is come out at 10 o'clock when it's been dark for 4 or 5 hours and it's cooled off quite a bit and a lot of the heat has escaped the soil. Another tip that I always found counterintuitive, but I found to be true, is that you should water underneath your plants before you cover them with your frost covers. Here's the reason why. All day long, the sun's been beating down on your soil. The air temperature in the atmosphere was a lot warmer, right, during the daytime. So a couple inches down, your soil is going to be a little warmer. If you don't water, the heat in your soil easily travels through that dry soil, dry, loose soil, and it just evaporates into the, or it escapes into the atmosphere. When you water slightly, it kind of compacts the soil and forms like an insulation layer that holds in the heat better for longer. So it's going to keep the area underneath the frost protection cover slightly warmer. You want to make sure that you have an airtight seal as much as you can between the soil and the frost protection cover. So you don't want to leave one of the ends open. You don't want to have a big hole or something not covered. You want to have it soil to frost protection cover 100% around the whole perimeter of what you're covering. I'll use these row bags and I'll put the frost protection underneath and drop it onto the soil, and I'll stretch it nice and taut. So that's one thing that I see a lot of people kind of miss, and it creates some problems for them. One other thing that might work for you that I've never done, but I'm young and I wouldn't rule it out, I might try it someday, I've tried about everything else, is you can take like an old-fashioned incandescent Christmas light or maybe a 75-watt bulb and run a outside safe extension cord to your frost protection cover, put it underneath, and that little bit of heat will make a huge difference. So something you might try if it's really important to you to protect your plant. I mentioned I had to wear a sweatshirt for the first time, but I'm not giving up on wearing shorts. Still haven't had to wear long pants in a YouTube episode this year, and I don't think I'm gonna have to. I love Phoenix. Whee! All right, this going forward is just gonna be frost cover. All right. Again, this is very easy stuff to work with. Super easy. Pull it over. So here I'm covering up the broccoli and cauliflower. And I've got some beets running that have just germinated and are just starting to grow. So I'll pull this out a little bit and cover those too. So notice that I have this tight to the ground all the way across. All right, this isn't gonna blow up. Just stay nice and tight to the ground. On this end, same thing. Lift this up, pull it a little tighter. We got some more broccoli and cauliflower over here. One here on the end. This is an easy one. I had originally doubled over the frost protection cover. But it was just too hard to fold and unfold. Not too hard, it was a little difficult, and I just went the other direction. So it's just got a single cover now. So there's just a lot of leeway here, a lot of slack. Again, you want the frost protection cover to seal the ground all around the perimeter of where you're covering. That doesn't do you much good. And I see one of the plants is touching here. So I want to lift this up a little bit. Pull this real tight. There we go. Doesn't do you much good if you have an end of this open. I've got the rest of the garden covered with frost protection. I've got one more area to go in the back of the garden here. We have some lettuce, and Keith and I had to get creative because we ran out of the metal square-shaped stands that were holding up the netting. So we went with some PVC, and this is up against the fence. So basically what we did is we ran the netting along the back, secured it down on the ground. The sun's setting on another beautiful day in Phoenix. And I've got the entire garden covered with frost and freeze protection. Keith will come out tomorrow morning about 9 a.m. and he'll pull all the frost protection off. The sun will radiate down into the soil. It'll warm things up. Tomorrow late afternoon I'll come out and cover it up again. There's been a little bit of a change in the weather since I began filming this episode. Originally they were saying between 33 and 31 degrees over the next 5 days, no chance of rain. Well, I just looked And it looks like in 2 or 3 days, it may drop down to 28 at night, and we may get intermittent rain. So with that being said, earlier in the episode I talked about you can use both poly or plastic and netting or blankets or sheets. And we may just have to do that. So on the night that it's going to get extremely cold out to 28 with a possibility of rain, we'll put the frost protection netting on as you've seen in this episode, and then we'll put some plastic over the top and we'll hold those down with the row bags just like we did the frost protection netting. It just doesn't make sense to me if there's one freeze date, all the work you put in the garden, to lose everything because you got a little bit lazy. I'm Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. Our channel is all about helping you grow herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff so that you can live a healthier and happier life. If you're new to our channel and you want to learn all about growing herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff, then start today by subscribing. And after you subscribe so you don't miss anything, make sure you hit the notification bell because you never know what I'm going to be doing next. Photosynthesize. Can you photosynthesize? I can. No, I can't. My plants can. So the Hun, who's the Huns? Attila? Had to wear a sweatshirt.